Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. The voice of a verb is very important in English grammar. Firstly, we will see that what is a voice of a verb. That expresses whether the subject in the sentence has performed the action or received the action. For example, in this sentence, the watchman opens the door. Here, this is the active voice. And how do we know that this is active voice? Because here the subject performs the action. What is the subject? The watchman. The watchman is the subject, opens is the action, and the door is the object. So here, since the subject is active, the subject is performing the action, therefore this is the active voice. Whereas in the second sentence, the door is opened by the watchman. Here we see that the watchman, which is the subject, is the receiver of the action. Therefore, that would be the passive voice. Hence we come to know that there are two types of voices of verb, which is the active voice and the passive voice. Active voice is that when an action performed by the subject is expressed by the verb, that is an active voice. And passive voice is when the action expressed by the verb is received by the subject. In the first case, birds build nests. Birds is subject and nests is object. And birds is the subject is the performer of the action. The hunters chase the prey. The hunters is the subject and the prey is the object. And here the hunters is active and the hunters, which is the subject, is the performer of the action. Therefore, these two sentences are the examples of active voice. Whereas in the passive voice examples, we see that the object comes first and the subject is the receiver of the action and not the performer of the action. Like nests are built by birds. The prey is chased by the hunter. So that is the example of passive voice. In active voice, a sentence emphasizes upon the subject who's performing an action. So we see in active voice, the emphasis is upon the subject, whereas in the passive voice, the action is being emphasized or the object is being emphasized. Here we will have a look at the active and passive voice rules. So, in order to go through the rules, this is important to first of all try to identify and try to see in each sentence what is the subject, what is the verb, and what is the object. Like in the first sentence, Ali wrote a letter. In this sentence, Ali is subject, wrote is verb, and a letter is object. And the passive voice example of this sentence is a letter was written by Ali. So here we see that a letter is object, was is auxiliary, and written is past participle of write, by plus object, the subject Ali. In the second example, she subject, cooks verb, food object, and the passive of this sentence is the food is cooked by her, and here the food is object, is auxiliary, cooked past participle of cook verb, by, and object. Now what do the rules say? Whenever you are going to get a sentence where you have to change the voice from active to passive or from passive to active, first of all you needed to identify the subject, the verb, and the object. For example, he drives car. He is subject, drives is verb, and car is object. Secondly, you are going to interchange the object and the subject positions with each other. And the object of the active voice of the active sentence would become the subject of the passive sentence. For example, she knits sweater. She is subject, knits is verb, and sweater is object. So when we will change the voice of this sentence into the passive voice, we would see that it would be here sweater is going to take the position of subject she. So here that would be the sweater. The sweater, the object of the sentence, would come first. The sweater is knitted by her, and she, that's going to come at the last position, where the subject is going to come at the last position where the object was, and the verb is going to be changed into the past participle, and auxiliary verb will be used. How that would be used and what do the rules say? So this we are going to take up tense by tense. But before moving to those rules, I would be going through the rule number 3, that in passive voice, sometimes the subject is not used. The subject in passive voice can be omitted if the sentence without it gives enough meaning. That is interesting. That in some cases, the subject is not important, rather the action is important, or the object is more important. So in those cases, this is not necessary that you are going to write the subject over there. Like if the sentence is money is stolen, so what is important? That is money is stolen. So that would be stolen by anybody. Like someone steal his money, right? So you would when you have to change the active voice into the passive, you may simply write his money is stolen. You may also write it in that way, that his money is stolen by someone, but by someone is not important, rather the action is more important than the subject. Rule number 4, change the base verb in the active sentence into the past participle. No matter what the tense is, the verb in the active voice is going to be changed into the third form of the verb, or the past participle, which will be preceded by in most cases in some cases and to in some cases. Base verbs are never used in passive voice sentences. By base verbs we mean that either the verb in the active voice is in the first, that is the first form of the verb, or the second form of the verb. That will not be used in passive voice sentences. In passive voice sentences, all the time the verb would be the third form of the verb, which is the past participle. For example, she prepares dinner. Here she is subject, prepares is verb, and dinner is object. When we will change this active voice into the passive voice, the sentence would be, the dinner is prepared by her. So this prepares, first form of the verb, will get changed into the third form of the verb, prepared by her, which is the subject. She knows him. He is known to her, because here by will not be appropriate. Therefore, we will make use of to and not by. Similarly, juice fills the jar. The jar is filled not by juice but with juice. So this would be, the jar is filled with juice. Now rule number 5. While converting active voice sentence to passive voice sentence, the pronoun used in the sentence also changes in the following manner. So our pronouns are going to be changed into, like, I will get changed into me, we into us, he into him, she into her, they into them, you into you, and it would also remain the same, it. Rule number 6 says that use the suitable helping or auxiliary verb. What are the auxiliary verbs? Is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, etc. The rules for using auxiliary verbs in the passive voice sentences are different for each tense. That I would brief you. For example, the letter is written by her. Since the letter is singular, so we will use is. Book was not bought by her, because the active voice would be in the past tense. Therefore, here the auxiliary was is being used. Chocolates were being eaten by them, are being. So hence the tense is present continuous. Therefore, are being is being used. Let's see what are the rules. So here are active and passive rules for all tenses. Firstly, we will see that what is the rule of the present simple tense. In present simple tense, the active voice, the sentence in the active voice would have subject, first form of the verb, plus s or es and plus object. Whereas in the passive voice, it would be you may make use of the auxiliary verb is, am, are, and when you would change it, so what would be the order? First, that would start with the object, then is, am, are, depending upon whether the object is singular or plural, plus third form of the verb, plus by, and plus subject. I just want you to have a look at the examples of present simple tense in order to make that more clear. For example, he reads a novel. Subject, verb, reads. By reads, we will get to know that this is the present simple tense, and therefore we will apply the rules which are particular to the use of the present simple tense. And what are those rules? That you are going to make use of the auxiliary is, am, are, plus past participle of the verb, plus by, and plus object. Right? So since our subject which is the object over here, and our object is singular, our novel, therefore it is accompanied by the auxiliary is. And why is? Because this is the present tense. Read, because past participle. We always make use of the past participle in no matter what the tense is. Then by, and plus object. So this is the formula. We will go back and we see that in present simple tense, what do? We write object plus auxiliary is, am, are, plus past participle, the third form of the verb, plus by, and plus subject. And if the sentence is negative, it would be like in active voice, it would be subject plus do or does not, plus the first form of the verb, plus object. And like object is, am, are, plus not, plus third form of the verb, plus by, plus subject. For example, in the first sentence was that he reads a novel. In the second sentence, he does not cook food. In the negative sentence, food is not cooked by him. So food would come first, and since food is singular, therefore it would be accompanied by auxiliary is, not, past participle, by, and him. And in the third instance, we see that this is the interrogative sentence. Does he purchase books? So when we will change it into passive, we would see that there would come the auxiliary first. And what would be the auxiliary? Are, because books is plural. Are would come first because the sentence is interrogative. Are books purchased by him? Auxiliary plus object plus past participle or third form of the verb, plus by, and plus subject जो end पे आ जाएगा. Similarly, in the next example, they grow plants. Plants plural है, इसलिए इसके साथ auxiliary आएगा are, third form of the verb आएगा, by आएगा, और they को हम उसका pronoun them में change कर देंगे और उसको end पे ले आएंगे. She teaches me, I am taught by her. I would come first. I के साथ auxiliary am suitable है, वो लगाएंगे. Teaches का third form of the verb taught आ जाएगा, plus by, और she का object her है, उसको हम end पे ले आएंगे. So that's how this is the present part, present simple tense, जिसको हम present indefinite tense भी कहते हैं. Hope that is clear. Now we are moving towards the next tense, which is present continuous tense. कौन सा tense है जी? Present continuous tense. अब present continuous का जो active voice होता है वो होता है जी subject plus is, am, are plus verb का first form of the verb plus ing plus object. Like he is cooking food. Food object is being cooked by him। और अगर यही नेगेटिव हो जाता है तो क्या हो जाएगा, he is not, वर्ब का फर्स्ट फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब कुक, ing कुकिंग, ऑब्जेक्ट फूड। और उसको जब हम पैसिव में करेंगे तो क्या हो जाएगा, फूड पहले आ जाएगा, फूड इज नॉट बीइंग, वर्ब का थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब, कुक का थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब कुक्ड हो जाएगा, कुक्ड बाय हिम। और अगर ये आ जाता है इंटरोगेटिव तो क्या हो जाएगा, इज द फूड, इज ही कुकिंग द फूड। तो उसका आप जब उसको करोगे पैसिव वॉइस में तो क्या हो जाएगा, इज, फूड को फूड पहले आ जाएगा, इज ही कुकिंग द फूड, इज द फूड being cooked by him। So that's how we would do present continuous tense, and let's have some examples of present continuous tense, some more examples. Yeah, here we have Isha is singing a song is being sung by Isha। तो क्या डिफरेंस है प्रेजेंट सिंपल और प्रेजेंट कंटिन्यूस में। तो अगर यहाँ पे प्रेजेंट सिंपल होता कि ईशा सिंग्स अ सॉन्ग तो हम बीइंग यूज ना करते, हम सिंपल लिख देते अ सॉन्ग इज संग बाय ईशा। बट हियर since this is present continuous and that is singing a song, so initially whenever we have to change the voice of a sentence we needed to identify that which tense that is, and we have to apply the rules accordingly. So after having a look at the sentence we would come to know that since this is the present continuous tense, so we are going to apply the rules of the present continuous, जो क्या है कि हम वहाँ पे लिखते हैं सबसे पहले ऑब्जेक्ट, फिर जो भी ऑक्सिलरी होता है अप्रोप्रिएट, और फिर बीइंग आपके ऑक्सिलरी के साथ जाता है। प्रेजेंट सिंपल में बीइंग नहीं जाता, प्रेजेंट कंटिन्यूअस में बीइंग जाता है आपके ऑक्सिलरी के साथ, फिर थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब बाय एंड सब्जेक्ट। In the second example, he is not plucking flowers. Flowers are not being plucked by him. तो नॉट आप इंसर्ट करोगे ऑक्सिलरी और बीइंग के दरमियान, तो क्या हो जाएगा, फ्लावर्स आर नॉट बीइंग प्लक्ड बाय हिम। इन द इंटरोगेटिव, इज रेहा बाइंग अ टेबल क्लॉथ, इज आ टेबल क्लॉथ, एक टेबल क्लॉथ है इसलिए हम इज लगाएंगे, इज अ टेबल क्लॉथ बीइंग बॉट बाय रेहा, सो दे आर सर्विंग पुअर पीपल। Poor people would come first, since this is plural तो हम are लगाएंगे, उसके साथ being third form of the verb by, और आपका जो subject है उसका pronoun them। She is disturbing the class is being disturbed by her। Moving on, we would go to present perfect tense। Present perfect tense, here that is, so how do we form the active voice of a present perfect tense। वो क्या होता है, जैसे सब्जेक्ट होता है, सब्जेक्ट के साथ हम हैज़ और हैव ऑक्सिलरी लगाते हैं प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस में, और इसमें हमारे पास वर्ब का थर्ड फॉर्म आता है एक्टिव वॉइस में, और फिर ऑब्जेक्ट। जैसे अगर हम वही एग्जांपल लें जो पिछले दो सेंटेंसेस में ली थी तो क्या होगा, ही हैज़ कुक्ड द फूड, दैट वुड बी द एग्जांपल ऑफ एक्टिव sentence। he subject has, because that is the third person singular number he, तो he has verb का third form cooked food, और उसको जब हम पैसिव में करेंगे तो क्या हो जाएगा, the food पहले आ जाएगा, the food has been cooked by him। तो हमारा फॉर्मूला क्या है पैसिव में चेंज करने का, कि सबसे पहले हम ऑब्जेक्ट लगाएंगे, उसके साथ हम ऑक्सिलरी लगाएंगे, जो हैज़ भी हो सकता है और हैव भी हो सकता है, डिपेंड करता है कि हमारा ऑब्जेक्ट सिंगुलर है या प्लूरल है, और उसके साथ हम बीन इंसर्ट करते हैं। कंटिन्यूस में हम BEING बीइंग इंसर्ट करते हैं, लेकिन प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट को जब हम पैसिव वॉइस में चेंज करते हैं तो हम बीन इंसर्ट करते हैं, वर्ब का थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब एंड बाय एंड सब्जेक्ट। सिमिलरली इन द नेगेटिव सेंटेंस इट वुड बी सब्जेक्ट plus has have plus not plus verb का third form of the verb and object। He has not cooked the food. The food has not been cooked by him. Has he cooked the food? Has the food been cooked by him? Let's have a look at some more examples of present perfect tense. So here are the examples. Amina has challenged her. She has been challenged by Amina. So her she first में आ जाएगा ऑब्जेक्ट हमारा. सब्जेक्ट में चेंज होगा तो वो she हम लिखेंगे उसको. She is the third person singular number. That's why we will use has plus been plus third form of the verb challenged and by सब्जेक्ट जो है हमारे एंड पे आ जाएगा, ऑब्जेक्ट बन जाएगा. Ahmed has not written an article. An article has not been written by Ahmed. Have they left the apartment? Has apartment been left by them? देखें यहाँ पे था have they because they was plural. But when we have changed the position of the subject and the object, we see that apartment is singular. Therefore, we will use has. Has the apartment been left by them? So मिडिल में आ जाएगा आपका सब्जेक्ट और उसके बाद आप बीन इंसर्ट करोगे, थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब बाय, और फिर आपका जो सब्जेक्ट है वो जब ऑब्जेक्ट की पोजीशन में आएगा तो उसका हम प्रोनाउन लिखेंगे, उसका हम लिखेंगे ऑब्जेक्ट फॉर्म लिखेंगे जो देम हो जाएगी. शी हैज़ क्रिएटेड दिस मास्टरपीस. This masterpiece would come first. This masterpiece has been, third form of the verb, created by her. I've read the newspaper. Newspaper would come first. The newspaper has been read by me. So that is with the present perfect tense. So now we will move towards the past indefinite. And what do the rules about the past indefinite or the past simple tense say? That I would take up in my next video. Hope that is clear at the moment and you understood the concept of active and passive sentence and some of the rules along with examples. Thank you.